This is a recipe for high fiber rolls. What's really interesting about this recipe, Dawn, that you created, by the way, is that it's very high in fiber and it has 2 types of fiber. It's also gluten-free.
And it tastes so much like the real thing. It's almost like a replacement for the bread that everybody has been missing.
Well, let's start off by mixing our wet ingredients.
We're actually going to demonstrate weighing this on a gram scale. We've pre-weighed some of these ingredients, but we have a few tips that we want to share. First one being is using a syringe to help weigh eggs. Eggs can be a little tricky to weigh, so all you do is pull it up and then transfer it to the bowl that you want to weigh. Beth, if you can keep an eye on, we need 50 grams of egg.
Okay, you're at 35.
That is approximately...
And you're now at 40, almost 46.
It's approximately 1 large egg.
And here we are, 49 grams.
Okay, so let's use our scraper. The next ingredient we need is some oil. How many grams do we need here,
And this
Beth?
is 24 grams of oil. And you can use a seed oil like sunflower oil, safflower oil, walnut oil. And you're at 23 and a half. You're almost at 24. Okay, 24 grams. And between weighing each item, we're tearing the scale to bring it back to 0. Our next ingredient is water. And then apple cider vinegar. And this acts as a little preservative, I would imagine, Dawn.
It also helps cut through the strong flavors of the flax and the psyllium husk. So this is a good little acid to help bring those flavors forward a little.
Okay.
Okay, so we just mix this together and then we can start adding the dry ingredients.
So we've got 13 grams of flax meal. And this is essentially ground flax seeds. Very high in fiber, as I mentioned, also a source of omega-3 fatty acids. And then we have 12 grams of psyllium husks, and this is ground up psyllium.
This is the whole variety. It also comes in a powder, and it will look more like a fine baking powder consistency, but the whole version or the powder version is perfectly acceptable. As always, we tare.
And then we're ready for the next ingredient, which is 1 gram of baking powder.
Okay.
And then 1 gram, let's tare it again, and add our baking soda. This is also 1 gram. And the final ingredient is just a pinch of salt. And again, this acts as a preservative and just brings out flavors.
Okay. So the next step with this recipe is to make sure that all of these ingredients are thoroughly mixed together. It will not look like a bread dough that you're used to seeing. What's going to happen is the psyllium husk is going to begin to absorb all of the water that we've added and the oil, and it's going to begin to thicken up. So this is going to need to sit for about 5 minutes to reach the right thickness for us to be able to pick up this dough and shape it into little roll shapes. If you let it sit too long, it will actually release all of the oil and then you'll have to start over again. So make sure that your oven was preheated before you started mixing these ingredients.
And let's get our baking sheet ready. We've got a sheet of parchment to lay over the baking sheet.
Okay, are you ready to shape
I'm
the
ready.
rolls? I'm just gonna eyeball it here and I'm gonna divide this batter into 4 portions by just kind of marking it with my spatula. And then what we're gonna do, Beth, is we're gonna actually dip our hands in this water and I'll scoop a little bit of the batter into your hand and you'll see that it won't stick. So if you wanna go ahead and dip your hands in, and you want to quickly just kind of, I'll go ahead and do the same thing. Just quickly kind of form it into a little round, smooth shaped roll and lay them on the baking sheet. This particular recipe makes 4 rolls.
And while you're making that, I'm going to put the slice through the top, which makes them look prettier.
It also helps with letting them rise a little bit higher. Okay, I think that looks great. Okay, it's time to put these in the oven. We're gonna bake them at 300 degrees for about 30 minutes. Okay, Beth, how do they look?
They look great, Dawn.
Okay, I'm gonna put them on the cutting board for you.
So these can be used for sandwiches, right?
Mm-hmm. Little mini turkey sandwiches are one of Charlotte's favorites. Okay, the texture of these just turns out so wonderful. They have lots of air pockets, they've risen nicely, they're soft. The flavor and the texture is reminiscent of whole grain bread.
You know, Dawn, people are just going to be so thrilled that there's bread on the ketogenic diet.
I think so too. For this and many more great recipes, please visit charliefoundation.org.